Welcome at the Growcast, the podcast of BlueCity and BlueCity Lab, in which we talk with 8 Rotterdam-based pioneering biodesigners, our so-called pioneers, about how a future will look like if we design with nature as our guideline. We started this podcast to celebrate the opening of BlueCity Lab, a biocircular playground for pioneers located in the heart of BlueCity.
We invited 4 frontrunners whose work will make us rethink everything we think we know, and 4 aspiring biodesigners who want to challenge the status quo. My name is Barbara Vos.
And I'm Emma van der Leest.
In this podcast, we want to welcome Eduarda Bastian from Brazil. She crowdfunded her research project, the Hub Project, in which she wants to recover our connection with nature. Welcome, Eduarda.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're very, very happy that you can join us. So, how have been the last couple of months for you?
Well, to be honest, been kind of an emotional roller coaster, ups and downs, and a lot of adaptation. I had to adapt a lot of my project in my own home, and it's a small house, so it takes a lot of adapting. And yeah, it's been a roller coaster, really, but good times and also bad times.
And could you tell us some more about your project that you're doing now from home?
So the Hub Project is a project that I created which aims to present a new type of fiber for the textile industry. And it is actually a fiber that was used many years ago for textile purposes. So I'm trying to rescue this fiber and to see how with the technology that we have today and also keeping alive old techniques, handmade techniques, how can we use this fiber for the textile industry? So I've been collaborating with the hop farmers and also scientists, biologists, artisans from the Netherlands.
Because it sounds like we're talking to a foolproof designer who's working on the subject for like multiple years. But you're still studying as well, right?
Yeah, I'm still studying. Just started my second year of my master's course here in the Netherlands.
And you also work together with the Wagner University.
Yes, it all started with the ACT module from Wagner University, where you present a problem, a research question, and then they gather different students from different departments to help you to solve this problem. So I was working with master students from biology and plant biology, and they helped me develop a method for the degumming of those hop fibers. The extraction and softening the fibers.
Wow. And so just before we go to the why questions, why did you come to the Netherlands? It's very cold here compared to Brazil.
Yes, actually it's not so different. The winter from where I was raised is very south of Brazil, so we also have a cold winter. But I was looking for master's course in the textile field or fashion, and all I could find were just the same courses with the same subjects, and all focusing on the mass production industry and all of that, very shallow. So I found this course, which is called, it used to be called Fashion Houding Common, but now they changed it to Practice Houding Common, which has a much more holistic approach to this. So it involves a lot of finding yourself and compassion, and using compassionate communication and handcrafts and all of that.
And Eduarda, are you in this project alone, or do you really have a group of, besides the collaborators like Wagner, do you have a group of other people that are helping you with the Hub projects?
I have collaborations. Mainly, I am alone, but I made a lot of connections and collaborations. So there are the farmers who gave me the plants, and there are also the scientists and biologists from Wagner who are going to do the extraction method, and the spinners who are going to spin the fibers. So I think a person's never alone. There's also a lot of collaborations and connections that you make along the way.
How did you find out about biodesign? Have you read about it? Have you heard about it? How did you got attracted by this whole field?
As soon as I got in the Netherlands, I started hearing a lot about it, a lot about the Scobie ladder and the mycelium, a lot about the mycelium. And the mycelium really fascinated me. And then I think just 2 months after I got here, there was the Biodesign Night at BlueCity. And I went and I got even more fascinated by everything. So I really,
that's so nice that you participated last year.
I was there last year, and everything just really fascinates me. The power of nature itself and all the resources that it can provide us. It's, really fascinating to me.
Yeah, so for the listeners who don't know what Biodesign Night is, it's an annual event here in BlueCity. Last month, actually, we recorded it online, of course. And it's an event where we bridge design, technology, and biology and bring together scientists and designers in a room who will talk about their projects in the evening. And normally we also had a tiny exhibition. So this event is really to inspire people, but also bring together and create a network. And a lot of people are from BlueCity Lab, of course, but also from the whole of the Netherlands. So if you are curious, follow us. And that's also apparently how Eduarda came here. So maybe, Eduarda, you probably also got to know BlueCity Lab, right, via this evening?
Yes, that's where I got to know everything about it. And I then started following everybody that works there. So I've been following BlueCity Lab's work for a year now, I think.
Cool. Yeah. And yesterday we, or our previous speakers were talking about starting in their kitchens. So I'm also really curious, have you also started in your kitchen or, cultivating hop crops in your home? And are now looking for a more professional place to work with the fibers?
Yeah, so actually it's funny because when I was first here, I was in a very tiny room in a student house and I wanted to start growing things as soon as I could. So in my room, it was full of plants, and then in the counter, there was a failed attempt of growing mycelium, and under the table, it was a successful attempt of growing Scobie, actually. But the room was a mess and all sort of things growing and everything. And I used to boil the hop plant, because it makes it easier to extract the fiber in the kitchen, and all the flatmates got in the kitchen and that stink. So it was really funny. But I'm still doing it at home now because I'm not allowed to go in the lab because of the COVID now also. So I'm doing a lot of stuff at home. So I'm experimenting in my kitchen again.
Because you're working, of course, with the fiber of the hop plant. So here in the lab, you're going to use specific machines to turn them into a fibrous material, right?
I need the lab to do the extraction and the softening process of the fiber, which we call degumming, that I'm going to be using enzymes. And of course, I cannot do that in my home. So I need the proper environment to use the enzymes and everything that goes in between in the process.
Yeah, well, we're really curious to see how that all goes. And of course, you're also very much inspired by nature. Could you tell us a bit more what aspect of nature inspires you, or specifically this hop plant? So we know, well, most of the people know hop from beer, but could you tell us a bit more about your fascination for this plant?
Well, I actually found out that hop was used as a textile fiber in a really, really old book. And I read that it was from the same family as hemp, and they both have similar structures. And then I thought, why is nobody using it? So I did a deep research about it. And then I found out it's considered agricultural waste, because after the flower is harvested for the beer production, they burn or compost the plant. So it's technically agricultural waste that nobody uses. And then I started putting everything together. And then, I actually got really good fibers at home. So I think in the lab, I can get even more soft and nicer fibers. But aside from the hop, I think what inspires me most about nature, it's its capacity to function and to work as a unique being, even with all its microorganism and all plant species, animal species. It functions and coexists as a one being. And also it provides us with all the resources that we need. We, of course, it only asks that we take care of it. So I think that would be it.
Oh, thank you, Eduarda.
Yeah, and I still have a question about your project, because you crowdfunded your project actually, right?
Yeah, I did a crowdfunding campaign in order to afford everything.
And could you tell something about why you crowdfunded the project and why it's necessary to have like a sum of money to move forward?
Well, as a non-EU student, there are not many available funding for projects, especially if you're still a student. So there was a workshop actually in my class of one of the people that work at the Voordekunst. And it was like an incentive for us to do this for our projects. And I looked at all the possibilities I had, and crowdfunding sounding like the best one. So yeah, I gather all the costs, all the material costs and rent for labs and paying professionals, of course, and everything. And yeah, it was the best option for me.
And so it was specifically the Hub project, right?
Yes, specifically for the Hub project.
Eduarda, yesterday I listened to a Dutch Design Week talk with ambassador and trend forecaster led by Ada Koort. You probably know her. And she was mentioning the study of indigenous cultures to rethink our current consuming system and looking back to the beginning of humanity. And I thought that was really interesting, because to look at the noble way in which we have learned to organize our existence from the very much beginning, to conquer, for example, rights to exist, the way we manage things to groups with wise men and delegations. And it goes through very different principles that we know. And we already have, of course, an incredible source of wisdom and depth built up in our society. And the question she also asked, how can we learn from ourselves if we look back to the beginnings of humanity to actually arrive a whole new society nowadays? So not working on what we have now, but starting a new phase where we basically need to take better steps towards a new depth in society by studying the indigenous cultures. So could you tell us a bit more about what you seek in the indigenous and, let's say, old-fashioned cultures, and how you create new perceptions in the current world?
Yes, I do know her. I'm a huge fan of hers, actually. I love her work, and she actually started this new World Hope Forum, I guess, and she's going to launch it on Saturday, so I'm really looking forward to it. And about the indigenous cultures, it really inspires me, because for them, the earth is sacred, nature is sacred, all life is valued. So I think the first thing that we need to do, again, if we want to start from the beginning, is to relearn to value all life and relearn the fundamentals that were once natural to us. There is this book, this really good book. Can I mention a book here?
Of course, you can mention a book.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yes.
That everybody that is interested in this, it's a must read. It's called Spiritual Ecology, The Cry of the Earth. And it's all about this, and there's a lot of indigenous people also talking about this, and how they treat the earth and how we should treat the earth as one, and how this is the basis for everything, to respect nature and to not put ourselves in the top, like, oh, we're humans, we're above everything, because it doesn't work like that. And they talk about this concept of deep ecology. There is deep ecology and shallow ecology. Deep ecology would be when we value all life, when we recognize the rights of nature. And the shallow ecology would be when we value nature only in terms of its usefulness to humans, even though we conserve her and protect her for our benefit. It would be considered shallow ecology. So deep ecology would be to see it as one and to take care of it. I think I'm talking too much.
No,
it's
it's
really fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was also wondering, because if you're very inspired by this, and you can sense also with Liedewij that there's a new movement or a new sense of being, like positioning ourselves with nature instead of positioning the human beings outside of nature. How can we incorporate and value like traditional and indigenous cultures in the industry right now? What's your vision on that?
Yeah, that is the most, I think, tricky part but I think it all comes down to educating others and like showing others, presenting people with this kind of stuff, because it's really fascinating and I'm sure everybody is curious about it, and it is really beautiful, the old techniques and everything. So maybe finding a way to present it to the world that would catch people's attention and catch people's eyes so they stop and have some insights about it, but also educate people about it. And yeah, I think that's the trickiest part. Yeah.
And what kind of oh, sorry. Yeah, I was wondering, what kind of role do you see for yourself as a designer in educating people?
Well, for starters, I think being an open source goes a long way in that, and sharing knowledge as much as possible, sharing information, sharing your discoveries and everything. And I think what I would like to do also, I'm going to have an exhibition with the HOP project next year, if COVID let us, where I'm going to show all the uses for the material in a more artistic way also. So I think combining it with art and exhibiting it to the world is also a way to showcasing it.
And what do you actually exhibit the textile, or do you also create garments out of it? And what type of garments? Have you thought about that?
No, I don't plan on presenting garments at the moment. It would be more the textiles, woven textile, or the use even as a raw fiber, like in basket making and the prehistorical weaving types. So I haven't thought about garment at the moment, more about the textile itself, the material itself.
Okay. Well, I also have one more question on the exhibition, because here in BlueCity Lab, there's also research going on to create a textile out of tomato fiber stem fibers, so to say. And I know it's pretty hard to create a textile completely in Netherlands or Europe. Do you also look at how we can produce this fabric in a sustainable way? So not only, for example, in Asia, but also here, closer to the Netherlands?
You mean like producing, for example, meters of the fabric? You mean like that, selling the fabric?
Yeah, because I can imagine that a lot of people are interested. So if you take maybe a next step to produce, that's also, of course, a decision you have to make. Do you want to continue and produce like yards of this fabric? But is it possible to create a yard from it in the Netherlands or anywhere in Europe?
It is possible, but there's actually this project going on, the Linen Project. Maybe you've heard of it. One of my mentors is one of the main people of the project. And they came to this problem with the spinning machines. They're not wait, there's anything. There are not many spinning mills or spinning machines here anymore in Europe. So they spin the linen fiber. I don't remember the country, but it was a country that was not the Netherlands or anywhere close by, because it was one of the only spinning mills left in Europe. So I think it is possible, but I think we need to bring this back also. So of course it takes a lot of investment because it's an expensive machine. It's an old machine. Of course it improved with the years, But I do think it's possible, but it also takes the valuing the local projects, of course, because I don't think going like in a huge scale, produce huge amount of hop fiber or tomato fiber would be the answer. So we have to keep it small and work again a new collaboration with engineers maybe to find these machines again here. But I do think it's possible. And I really love the tomato project, actually.
Wow. Oh, I'm really looking forward to this exhibition. Last question on the material, Eduarda. What do you hope to achieve with your projects and the exhibition you are talking about?
Well, I think the main goal would be to showing it to the world, to presenting it like, oh, here, there's this other fiber. There is not polyester or anything, or cotton or hemp. It's another fiber here that we can use. So it would be mostly to show its uses and to present the fiber to the world, I think. Yeah, I actually have a list of other plant fibers for the next projects that I'm looking forward to work with.
Okay, well, we're very curious. Maybe we hear more about it when you are here in Blue City.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to make sure for our listeners back home, because we're actually calling you in right now, because you can't physically be here because of COVID-19 and restrictions. But when you want to use BlueCity Lab, you have to travel 2.5 hours and take a train and 2 buses to come here. How important are places as BlueCity Lab for young designers and students like you?
I think it is extremely important, and I really wish there was a Blue City near Arnhem, because, yeah, the places that I found near Arnhem, it either costs insanely expensive rent, and I would be alone in a space that is mine, but I've never worked in a lab before. So I think it's really important for students and young designers who like to work with biodesign to have this kind of labs available nearby, because it's a crucial part of the process.
So you came here for the course Practice Held in Common.
Yeah.
At in Arnhem at the Artis University. Is this something that's typical for the Netherlands to have this holistic approach? Is this different in Brazil and in other countries in the world?
Yes, I think my course in particular is very unique, and I'm really happy they have it here. But I do think this holistic approach is growing, and I know they have some places in Brazil, not in fashion, but I know they have a lot of places.
So maybe you can also say what the holistic approach is for people who don't know it.
It would be a more compassionate way of dealing with things, with life and everything. It's really hard to explain this course. When people ask me and my classmates, we never can really explain it.
But that makes it so interesting, right?
Exactly. But it's all about finding yourself and finding your path. And actually, nonviolent communication is one of the core subjects of the course, as well as different types of techniques and classes to find yourself and find your path with joy, living with joy and with love for others and for yourself, of course. So, yeah, it all revolves around love, actually.
And that reflects in your work.
Yes.
And if you can pick a favorite biodesigner, architect, or scientist to collaborate with, who would that be? And what skill are you looking for or maybe need to grow?
There is one that is my favorite that I found out about her as soon as I got here in the Netherlands. And she really is an inspiration to me. And I don't know how to pronounce her name because the Dutch language is very hard for me, but I think it's Nienke, the seaweed girl.
Oh, Nienke Hoogvliet.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, yeah.
We know her.
We know her. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw her last year at the Biodesign Night and follow her work ever since. And she really is an inspiration to me. And the way how she also collaborates with different professions and everything. Yeah, she really is an inspiration.
Well, I think I'm sure we can introduce your work and you, of course, to Nienke.
Yeah, that would be great.
And what skill are you looking for, or do you need to move further in your work?
Well, actually, I think the main thing, which is also why I'm taking a botany course, I think.
Botanic, yeah.
To better understand the science of the plant, because then I know how to move forward. Because if you don't know like about the lignin and blah, 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 everything there is, you don't know what you need to do to make it softer and everything. So I think plant biologists would be a good collaboration for my projects. And also yesterday I tried spinning by myself, and it's really not made for me. It involved me screaming into a pillow. So I'm really not made for hand spinning. So no, I'm collaborating with local spinners to hand spin the fiber.
It's beautiful. Also bringing back the traditional way of creating garments, of course.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it involves more meaning, in my opinion. That's why I think also bringing back it's important, because it involves meaning in what you do. And brings
giving
meaning
it
back
time, and you give it love actually to spin the wheel. Yeah,
I'm really looking forward. I'm also a designer, and I always like to touch materials. So I'm really looking forward to meet you here and to see more of your work. Actually, I think that our conversation was really clear. So from my side, I don't have any questions. You just make me very curious. So from my side, thank you very much, Eduarda, for being here with us online. And I hope our listeners enjoyed too. If you have any questions for her, please reach out to us. And of course, we wish you all the luck with the project, and see you soon.
Yes, thank you very much.
This Growcast was hosted by Barbara Vos and Emma van der Leest and produced by BlueCity Lab. This podcast was realized with funding from the municipality of Rotterdam and Creative Industries Fund NL, and was edited by Puree Productions. We also want to give a shout out to Nienke Binnendijk, director of BlueCity Lab, and Sabine Biesheuvel, director of BlueCity, and actually everyone else from the BlueCity team for their trust and never-ending support. Until next time, thank you for listening.